Now, the third is then what is labor demand, the labor supply? The idea will remain same, Hamza, Sharis. Labor demand is the number of workers demanded by the firm at a given wage rate. Okay, labor demand is called derived demand since the level of demand of the product determines that industry demand for a labor. This is the higher demand of the product, the more labor produced will demand to increase the supply of the product. Okay, when the wage increase, the demand for the labor like contracts will also increase. More people would love to go for a job if the wages will increase. Okay, the demand of the worker will also increase. Are you getting my point? Okay, the next is the labor. Labor supply is the number of workers available and ready to work in an industry at a given wage rate. When the wage rate increase, the supply of labor extend. Got it? The supply of labor extend and then vice versa. Look at the graph, Sharis. We have wage rate at y-axis and the hours work in x-axis. Okay. Now we are going to define the graph. The number of hours work increase, the wage rate also increase. Common sense. Are you getting? The number of working hours will increase, the rate of wage is also increase. However, when the person get a high position, doesn't matter he is working like let's say for 20 hours, might be possible the working hour has been decreased. Okay, it's depend on the situation. That's why you look at the graph. This can be shown in this graph that called backward bending labor curve. Okay, CEO and executive manager at the top of the management tend to have a backward bending labor curves. Okay, you can't say that if the number of working hour increase, the incentive will also increase. Okay, it depends on the number of the position. Just like in a demand and supply, the curve analysis, labor demand and supply will extend and the contract due to change in the wage rate. Other factors that cause the changes in demand and supply of the labor will result in a shift in the demand and the supply of the labor curve. Okay. Now, what are the factors that can affect the labor demand curve? The number one is consumer demand for a good and the services. The higher demand for the products, the higher demand for the labor. If the demand of the product will increase, Hamza, Sharis, look, if the demand of the product will increase, you need more production. If you want to produce more products, you need more labor. Okay, so the consumer demand for the good and services ultimately will increase the labor demand. It is making some sense? Okay, then productivity of the labor. The more productive labor is, the more demand for the labor. Like if you have a highly skilled, market will demand you more and of course will pay you more. Is it making some sense? Okay. Price and productivity of the capital. Capital is a substitute resource for the labor. If the price of the capital were to a lower and its productivity to rise, firm will demand more capital and the labor demand will fall. Labor demand curve shifts to the left. Then non-wage employment cost. Wages are not the only cost to the firm of employing workers. Sometimes employment tax, welfare insurance for each employee, etc. Sharid, these are some factors which can affect the labor demand curve. Okay. Okay. Then next one is what are the factors that can affect the labor supply curve? The first one, advantages of an occupation. The different advantages a job can offer to the employees will affect the supply of the labor. The people willing to do that job. For example, if the number of working hours in the airline industry increase, the labor supply there will shift to the left. The other one, availability and the quality of the education and the training. If the quality trainings and the education for a particular job, let's say pilots is lacking, then the labor supply for it will be low. When the new education and the training institutions open, the labor supply will rise. The next, demographic change. The size and the age structure of the population in the economy can affect the labor supply. The labor supply curve will shift to the right when the people come into a country from outside, like immigration, and the when birth rate increases, more young people will be available for the job.